Welcome back, everyone, to another segment of the MCR Mac and Me. My name's TJ, and right out of the chute, kind of wanted to share some highlights of Donald Trump's return to Butler, Pennsylvania. Uh, some interesting things occurred, and as far as some of the highlights I'd like to touch on, uh, they could very well be deemed newsworthy. But some of these highlights are things you would never see occur in a Democrat rally. And we'll touch on these as the segment proceeds. But
Well, I've got one off the top of my head. One of the things you saw was the people who were there got themselves there, that they weren't shipped in on a bus from another state.
oh, amen to that. That's one of the I think that happened in Flint. I think it was Flint where that happened, or at least where that was noticed. I mean, who knows where else she's doing it, but I think
The one story I'm aware of is it was in North Carolina, and 80% of the audience, when they pinged their cell phones, they were from Georgia.
yeah, okay. Well, and I heard something about Flint too, some goofy attendees, Yeah, you won't see that at a Trump rally for sure.
Gaslighting at its finest.
It was interesting, and I'll confess this much too. A lot of times I don't necessarily watch these rallies. Either I got something going on, or sad to say, sometimes I forget it's even happening until after the fact. But as I was channel surfing and whatnot, I said, "Oh wow, the Trump rally." So I went to Rumble and RSBN, and I forget what the RSBN stands for, but RSBN had on their Rumble channel, they were carrying it live. And so I said, well, let me watch this. And I think I caught the tail end of J.D. Vance's speech. Okay. But when it came time for Donald Trump, hey, Mac, did you see any of it or watch it or what?
Yeah, I watched some of it. I was in and out. I live in a property that's got 1 billion trees, and they're dropping leaves like crazy, so I'm pretty busy with that.
Well, the reason why I ask is, when Trump starts speaking at the rally and says something to the effect, as I was saying, and what's
Yeah,
he
I
showing?
caught that. Yeah.
And he's showing to his right, we'll say, the crowd's left, the very graph that they displayed and attempted to talk about at the time of the assassination, prompting him to, turn his head in such a way that allowed him to escape being murdered. And it was just interesting, as I was saying, and then he begins to talk about the graph. And you could, for lack of a better description, it was almost like an inside joke, maybe,
Yeah, it was funny. I got a
But
chuckle out of it.
it was interesting how he started it off. Okay. Uh, then after he talked about the graph and whatnot, and I don't know if I have these in the correct order that it occurred, but he gave recognition to the murdered Trump supporter, Corey Compatore, and then he mentioned the two others that were severely wounded, and I guess they're still going through recoveries of some sort. Okay.
I find it interesting that and I know there's HIPAA, and maybe these people want their privacy. I don't know, but how little we've heard about them is shocking to me.
Yeah, you know what? I kind of had similar thoughts, like okay, maybe maybe it's private or what, but yeah, you don't hear too much as to how they're doing, really.
Yeah.
So I guess I was kind of glad he brought them up, but then he commenced to have a moment of silence. Okay, and yeah, you kind of expect that, but then what caught me off guard, and I'm not really familiar with this gentleman, Christopher Macchio, Macchio is his last name, and he's a tenor opera singer. And I'm, don't really know the opera singers too much. I mean, I would tell you, unless you're into that type of music, you might not have ever even heard of this guy. But he had an outstanding voice, and the moment of silence was concluded with his beautiful rendition of Ave Maria. And boy, I thought that was I I was I just thought it was appropriate and newsworthy, we'll say. And you know what? I don't think you're going to hear the Democrats singing Ave Maria.
No, Hail Satan, maybe.
Yeah. Uh, then as Trump began to speak,
And
some
guess who'd sing that if they did do it? Taylor Swift would be singing Hail Satan, I do believe.
Well,
at their rallies, if they did sing it.
Well, that's if they don't bring in the twerkers.
Right. Yeah.
I call them whatever they are. They come in and do their little grind on stage. But I as Trump began to speak, I guess, and I don't exactly know where, but it had to have been somewhat close because Trump saw it. But there was a medical emergency of some sort there in the crowd, and he stopped speaking. Everything came to a screeching halt. Okay. Well, during the silence of him not speaking, kind of an impromptu event occurred. The crowd broke into rendition of the national anthem, which I guess kind of works, if better than it being dead silence, we'll say.
Well, I think that Joy Reid, my prediction is she'll probably say that was staged and nothing really happened.
You know what? And she just, they're so warped. They just might say that. A little later in the speech, Trump introduced Elon Musk, and Elon came out, and right away you could tell he, I'm sure he spoke from the heart, though he didn't seem to be as gifted orator as Trump will say.
I've listened to him talk a number of times. He can be a little difficult to listen to because he seems a little bit goofy to me, but the guy's a genius. Apparently,
he's that's where his strength is. Being an
So
orator.
The way he danced around was. He almost looked like Tim Waltz the way he danced around.
As Elon spoke, and I'd like to read a quote here from Elon because it was 100% true and accurate. I would tell you, Elon said this. A true test of someone's character is how they behave under fire. We had one president who couldn't climb a flight of stairs, and another who was fist pumping after getting shot. And then he yelled, "Fight, fight, fight," blood coming down his face, which is pretty accurate, which obviously.
Here's the only place I'm not going to make fun of anyone because of their physical, imparities, but it's the offense there really lies in the fact that they lied so prolifically about his infirmities that we could all see.
And not just that, but when Trump was president, they were making accusations unfounded, I would tell you, in this same regard. I mean,
right.
that one time when Trump was a little unsteady on his feet as he was walking down a carpeted ramp or something. And
he said his shoes were slippery as hell. He was worried he was going to take a tumble, and he said he didn't want that because that would be on every nightly news for a month.
And of course now MSNBC and CNN are what have you think he's worse than Biden, in that regard. What a crock of excrement.
Again, more gaslighting.
Yep. Let's see. And then finally, I found it interesting the way the rally ended. That same tenor opera singer came out and sang, I want to say 3 songs, 3, maybe 4 songs. And I'm pretty sure the last one was "How Great Thou Art." And I got to tell you, aside from the fact that the guy was an outstanding performer and singer, you're not gonna You're not going to hear that sung at a Democrat rally. You're just not.
No.
You're just not.
Praise. There's no praise and glory for God with the Democrats. He's not their God. Satan is their God.
And Trump stood right there on stage during his 3 songs. I mean, as you know, and the guy's got a killer voice. Whether you like that type of music or not.
I've got a conspiracy theory.
What's that?
Well, Ave Maria is mostly associated with Catholics, so I think they put "How Great Thou Art" to balance it out, so the Protestants will vote for Trump.
Well, I didn't exactly have that thought, but I did notice.
No one did.
No
one had that thought.
But the guy's got a killer voice. I mean, it added a touch of class to the event that you'll never see in a Democrat event, and that's what I'm trying to say in all of this.
There is no solemnity for human life with the Democrats. They love death. They love lies. Satan is their daddy, and I don't know how much more I can say on that.
I mean, for all the claims of Trump supporters being smelly Walmart rednecks, I mean, what a classy way to end a rally. I would tell you.
Right.
Also, something I forgot to mention was when they were giving recognition to the death of Corey Compatore, I think they timed it. Pretty sure I heard them say the moment of silence was timed to the minute of the assassination, and I found that fitting. Okay, interesting and fitting. So, like I said, it was I found this to be a very interesting rally.
Well, they probably would have done it based on the time, whatever the time would be in Venezuela, to accommodate the illegal aliens.
Yes, for sure. But I was just very impressed. I was just impressed at how classy the rally in general was conducted, and think about this: the crowd that attended the Trump rally, and a crowd that might attend your typical Biden or Harris rally, and there's no comparison as to the caliber of people.
Well, one cleans up whatever mess they made, and the other makes a giant mess and leaves it for someone else to do.
Yeah, and anyway, that's all I really. I just wanted to share my thoughts on yesterday's. Well, because we're recording this on Sunday, so yesterday's events at the Trump rally. Then that's all I have for this one. If you have any final thoughts there, Mac.
No, that wraps it up, I think.
Okay. Thanks, everyone, for your support, and shameless plug here. In our next segment, we're going to talk about just how broken this federal government has become under the Biden/Harris administration. Okay? So thanks, everyone. As always, be safe, watch your six, and don't tread on me.